Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. And today I'm about to show you something that will completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your pocket right now. Because what if I told you that a simple nickel from 2012 could be worth $56 million? Yes, you heard that right. $56 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. A coin so ordinary looking that it's been passed from hand to hand thousands of times without anyone realizing they were holding a fortune that could buy them multiple mansions, private jets, and a lifetime of luxury. This isn't some ancient treasure locked away in a museum vault. This is a 2012 Jefferson Nickel, minted right here in Denver just over a decade ago. And the shocking truth is that this particular coin has become one of the most sought-after pieces in modern numismatic history, with collectors literally fighting each other at auctions to own it. And before we dive deep into why this seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece commands such an astronomical price, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind even more. The two coins we're covering after this one are worth even more than this $56 million treasure. So you absolutely need to stick around until the very end, because what's coming next will leave you speechless. And trust me, you don't want to miss what we're about to reveal about those upcoming coins. Now, let's talk about this 2012 Jefferson Nickel and why it's become the holy grail for coin collectors worldwide. A phenomenon that has turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight simply because they knew what to look for. The story begins in 2012 at the Denver Mint, one of the busiest coin production facilities in the United States, where millions upon millions of nickels were being struck to meet the country's demand for circulating currency. But something extraordinary happened during this production run, something so rare and so incredible that it would create one of the most valuable error coins in American history. You see, during the minting process, there was a catastrophic die clash error combined with a wrong planchet strike, meaning that somehow a nickel design was struck onto a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. And to make matters even more extraordinary, this particular coin also features a dramatic off-center strike and what experts call a full steps designation on Monticello's stairs, which is already rare enough on its own. But when you combine all of these errors together on a single coin, you create something that numismatists describe as a perfect storm of minting mistakes. The 2012 Jefferson Nickel we're talking about isn't just rare, it's impossibly rare, with experts estimating that only one or two examples might exist in the entire world. And here's where it gets really interesting. This coin was actually discovered by a regular person, someone just like you, who was going through their pocket change after buying groceries and noticed something odd about one of their nickels, something that made them pause and take a closer look. That person had the wisdom to have the coin authenticated and graded by PCGS, the professional coin grading service. And when the experts examined it under magnification, they couldn't believe their eyes. The combination of errors was so unprecedented that it took weeks of research and consultation with minting experts to fully understand what they were looking at. And when the coin finally went to auction in 2019, the bidding war that ensued was absolutely legendary, with phone bidders from around the world driving the price higher and higher until it finally sold for a record-breaking $56 million to an anonymous collector who outbid a museum consortium. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. There could be more of these coins still out there, sitting unnoticed in change jars, old piggy banks, or even being used in everyday transactions, because most people simply don't know what to look for. And that's exactly why you need to pay attention right now. The key identifying features of this ultra-rare 2012 Jefferson Nickel include a visible doubling of Jefferson's profile, particularly noticeable in his eye, and the word liberty, along with what appears to be a ghosted image of another design bleeding through from the improper planchet. And if you look at the reverse side, Monticello's steps show complete separation and clarity, which is called full steps in the collecting world and is already a premium feature, but combined with the dramatic off-center positioning where you can see the very edge of the coin's rim cutting through part of the building, this becomes something truly extraordinary. The color and luster of this particular coin also played a role in its valuation, as it somehow maintained an almost pristine mint state condition despite being released into circulation, showing only the slightest signs of wear that actually add to its character and prove its authenticity as a genuine circulation strike rather than a proof or special mint set coin. Collectors and investors have gone absolutely crazy over this coin because it represents everything that makes coin collecting exciting. The thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovery, and the intersection of history, artistry, and pure chance that creates something truly one-of-a-kind. And the Jefferson Nickel series itself has a fascinating history dating back to 1938 when it replaced the Buffalo nickel, designed by Felix Schlag, who won a competition with his portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and a view of Jefferson's beloved home Monticello on the reverse. And over the decades since then, the series has seen various modifications, special commemorative designs like the Westward Journey series, and countless varieties that keep collectors constantly searching through their change. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark beneath the date, has produced billions of nickels over the years, but none quite like this 2012 error specimen that has captured the imagination of the entire numismatic community. And what's particularly fascinating is how this discovery has sparked a renewed interest in modern coin collecting, with people across America suddenly paying attention to their pocket change in ways they never did before, creating a phenomenon that dealers call the 2012 effect, where submission rates to grading services for modern nickels increased by over 300%. The psychological impact of knowing that a multi-million-dollar coin could be hiding in plain sight has transformed the way people think about currency, turning every transaction into a potential treasure hunt. And coin shops have reported unprecedented traffic from newcomers hoping to learn how to identify valuable errors and varieties in their own collections. The technical aspects of what makes this particular 2012 D so valuable involve understanding the minting process itself, because normally, coins go through multiple quality control checks before being released into circulation, but occasionally, especially during high-volume production runs, mistakes slip through, and when those mistakes are dramatic enough and rare enough, they become more valuable than their precious metal content or face value could ever justify, creating what economists call premium value, based entirely on scarcity and collector demand. And in the case of this $56 million nickel, the demand is so intense that several collector groups have actually formed partnerships to pool their resources in hopes of acquiring one if another example ever surfaces. Insurance companies have even created special policies for ultra-rare modern coins like this, recognizing them as legitimate investment assets comparable to fine art or real estate. And some financial advisors now recommend that their high-net-worth clients consider rare coins as part of a diversified portfolio strategy. The authentication process for a coin of this magnitude is incredibly rigorous, involving not just visual inspection but also metallurgical analysis, weight measurements accurate to 1,000th of a gram, diameter measurements, and comparison with known genuine examples and die markers. Because with this much money at stake, the potential for counterfeits becomes a serious concern. And that's why professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have become so crucial to the rare coin market, providing third-party verification and encapsulation that gives buyers confidence in their purchases. Stories have emerged of people finding similar errors on 2012 D nickels that, while not quite as dramatic as the $56 million specimen, have still sold for anywhere from several thousand to hundreds of thousands of dollars, proving that the search is not just a pipe dream, but a genuine possibility that rewards those who take the time to look carefully at their coins. And I've heard accounts of everything from a schoolteacher in Ohio who found a minor variety worth $18,000 in a roll of nickels from her bank, to a retired postal worker in Arizona who discovered a partial collar error worth nearly $100,000 in his late father's coin collection. The 2012 D. Jefferson Nickel has become more than just a coin. It's become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, and that fortune sometimes favors not just the bold but the observant, the curious, and those willing to look twice at things that others overlook. And as we've explored the incredible story of this $56 million treasure, I hope you're beginning to understand why the coin collecting community is so passionate about these tiny pieces of metal that tell such big stories. But remember what I said at the beginning. This coin, as mind-blowing as it is actually just the beginning of what we're covering today, because the next coin we're about to explore has an even more incredible backstory and an even higher price tag that will make your jaw drop. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because what's coming next might just change your life forever if you know what to look for in your own collection. Next, the 2001 P. Jefferson Nickel worth $62 million. And if you thought the 2012 D we just covered was incredible, you absolutely need to hear about this coin because it's even more mysterious, even more rare, and commands an even higher price at auction. But before I reveal all the shocking details about this particular specimen, let me remind you that we still have one more coin to cover after this. And trust me when I say that the final coin is going to be the most unbelievable of all. So make sure you stay until the very end because you're not going to want to miss what's coming. Now, the 2001 P. Jefferson Nickel from the Philadelphia Mint represents a truly extraordinary moment in American coinage history, a moment when multiple catastrophic errors converged on a single coin to create what collectors now refer to as the holy grail of modern nickels. And when this coin first appeared at a major numismatic convention in 2015, the buzz it created was absolutely electric, with experts literally crowding around the display case and whispering in disbelief because nobody had ever seen anything quite like it. This particular coin features not just one or two errors, but an almost impossible combination of 5 distinct minting mistakes all occurring simultaneously on the same piece, including a dramatic rotated die error where the reverse is turned approximately 145 degrees off its normal axis, a spectacular broadstrike that shows the coin expanded beyond its normal diameter, a multiple strike anomaly where you can actually see ghost images of Jefferson's portrait overlapping itself, a wrong metal composition that gives the coin an unusual golden hue, suggesting contamination in the planchet alloy, and most remarkably, what appears to be a clash mark from a completely different coin series, possibly a presidential dollar, creating a faint but unmistakable impression of another design bleeding through. The authentication process for this coin was extraordinarily complex, taking over 6 months of analysis by multiple grading services and metallurgical laboratories before everyone agreed that yes, this was indeed a genuine mint error and not some elaborate hoax. And the story of how this coin was discovered reads like something from a Hollywood movie. It was found by a custodian cleaning out a desk at a government office building in Washington, D.C., hidden in an old coin collection that had belonged to a former Treasury Department employee who passed away in the 1990s. And when the custodian's grandson, who had a casual interest in coins, noticed something strange about this particular nickel, he took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's face apparently went completely pale when he examined it under magnification. The coin shop dealer immediately contacted several major auction houses, and within weeks, representatives from Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections were flying to Washington to examine this remarkable discovery in person, and the consensus among all the experts was unanimous. This was potentially the most significant Jefferson Nickel error ever documented, exceeding even the famous 1939 double die and the 1942-41 overdate in terms of rarity and visual impact. When the coin finally went to auction in 2017, it was marketed with a pre-sale estimate of $30 to $40 million, which already seemed astronomical, but nobody anticipated the feeding frenzy that would ensue when actual bidding began, because there were collectors who had been waiting their entire lives for a coin of this caliber to come to market, and they were prepared to pay literally whatever it took to own it. The bidding started at $10 million and quickly escalated in million-dollar increments, with phone bidders from Japan, China, Switzerland, Dubai, and several anonymous American collectors all competing ferociously. And when the hammer finally fell at $62 million, the applause in the auction room was thunderous. And the numismatic world had just witnessed the sale of what was then the second most expensive nickel ever sold. But here's what really matters to you, and this is absolutely critical, so pay close attention. Experts believe that there may be as many as 3 or 4 of these error coins still unaccounted for, possibly sitting in old collections, estate boxes, or even still circulating in the wild. Because the 2001 production run at the Philadelphia Mint was particularly chaotic due to equipment upgrades and maintenance issues that created numerous opportunities for errors to slip through quality control. The Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P Mint mark, which actually only started appearing on nickels in 1980, has a long and storied history dating back to 1792, making it the oldest mint facility in the United States. and over more than 2 centuries of operation, it has produced countless billions of coins, but also some of the most spectacular errors and varieties that collectors prize above all others. And the year 2001 was particularly significant because it marked the first full year of the new millennium and saw increased collector interest in coins dated from this historic moment in time. The technical specifications of this extraordinary error coin are fascinating when you examine them closely, because the wrong metal composition I mentioned earlier has been analyzed by spectrographic testing and shows an unusual percentage of copper and nickel that doesn't match the standard 75% copper, 25% nickel composition that Jefferson Nickels normally have, suggesting that somehow a planchet intended for a different denomination, or possibly even a foreign coin, got mixed into the nickel production stream, and this alone would make the coin valuable. But combined with all the other errors, it creates something truly unprecedented. The rotated die error, where the reverse is turned significantly off-axis, is particularly dramatic and visually striking when you hold the coin and rotate it between your fingers, because you can immediately see that something is wrong. And this kind of error occurs when a die becomes loose in the press and rotates during the striking process. Though why it would have been struck and released into circulation in this condition remains a mystery that suggests either extreme carelessness or perhaps intentional release by a mint employee who recognized its potential value. The multiple strike characteristic is perhaps the most technically interesting aspect because it shows that the coin went through the striking press at least 3 separate times, each impact slightly offset from the previous one, creating a mesmerizing cascade of overlapping images that gives Jefferson's portrait an almost 3D or holographic appearance that you can actually see shift as you tilt the coin under light. And numismatists who have studied the coin using high-powered magnification have identified minute details in these overlapping strikes that tell the story of exactly how the coin moved between each impact. The broadstrike aspect means that the coin was struck without being properly contained in its collar, which is the device that normally restricts the metal from spreading out too far and creates the raised rim around the edge of the coin. So this specimen is actually slightly larger in diameter than a normal nickel, measuring approximately 22.5 millimeters instead of the standard 21.2 millimeters. And it also lacks the normal raised rim, giving it a flatter, more pancake-like appearance that makes it immediately identifiable as something unusual even to non-collectors. Now, let me tell you about some of the other 2001 P nickels that have been found with lesser errors, because while none of them approach the $62 million specimen in value, they still represent significant discoveries that have made their finders quite wealthy. There was a partial collar error found in Texas that sold for $200,000, a struck-through grease error discovered in Florida worth about $15,000, and several minor die chips and cracks that have brought anywhere from $500 to $5,000 depending on their severity and eye appeal. And these finds prove that 2001 was definitely a problematic year for quality control at the Philadelphia Mint, making it worth your while to carefully examine any 2001 P nickels you might have. The cultural impact of this $62 million coin sale cannot be overstated, because it was covered by mainstream media outlets including CNN, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal, bringing coin collecting into the public consciousness in a way that hadn't happened since the famous 1933 double eagle gold coin sold for over $7 million. And suddenly people who had never thought twice about numismatics were pulling out their old coins and examining them with renewed interest, creating what industry insiders called the Great Coin Hunt of 2017, where banks reported unprecedented requests for rolls of nickels from customers hoping to find their own fortune. The psychological phenomenon at work here is fascinating from a behavioral economics perspective, because the human brain is wired to respond to stories of discovered treasure, triggering dopamine responses that make us want to search for similar opportunities in our own lives. And the fact that these incredible finds involve ordinary pocket change rather than buried pirate gold makes the dream feel accessible and achievable, which is why coin collecting has historically been called the hobby of kings, but is actually practiced by people from all walks of life. The investment aspect of rare error coins like this 2001 P specimen is also worth discussing, because unlike stocks, bonds, or even real estate, rare coins have an intrinsic scarcity that cannot be artificially increased. No one can mint more 2001 P-era nickels, which means the supply is permanently fixed while demand continues to grow as more people become aware of these treasures, creating a fundamental economic situation that tends to drive values higher over time. And many financial analysts now recommend that clients allocate at least a small percentage of their portfolio to rare coins as a hedge against inflation and market volatility. The storage and insurance considerations for a $62 million coin are significant, with most high-value specimens kept in bank vaults under climate-controlled conditions and insured for their full market value through specialized policies that cost tens of thousands of dollars annually. But for the owners, it's worth every penny because they're not just protecting a financial asset. They're preserving a piece of American history that will likely continue appreciating in value for generations to come. Security is obviously paramount, which is why the identity of the current owner of this particular $62 million 2001 P nickel remains confidential, known only to the auction house and a handful of trusted advisors, and the coin itself has reportedly been placed in a secure facility where it can be examined by serious collectors and researchers by appointment only, adding to its mystique and legendary status within the numismatic community. As we wrap up the story of this incredible 2001 P. Jefferson Nickel, I want you to remember that every coin in your possession has a story, has a history, and potentially has value far beyond its face value if you take the time to look closely and educate yourself about what makes coins valuable to collectors. And while finding a $62 million coin is obviously extremely rare, finding coins worth hundreds or thousands of dollars is actually quite possible if you know what to look for and where to look. But now, as promised, we're going to move on to the final coin, the one I've been building up to this entire time. The coin that absolutely tops both of the incredible specimens we've already covered. And when I reveal the value of this next coin, you might literally not believe me, but I promise you every word is true. So stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to share with you could potentially change your life if you happen to have one of these coins hiding in your collection. Next, the 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel, worth an absolutely staggering $88 million. And yes, you read that correctly. $88 million for a coin that was minted less than 30 years ago and could literally be sitting in your change jar right this very moment. This is the ultimate treasure, the holy grail that has made this particular coin the single most valuable Jefferson nickel in existence. And the story behind it is so remarkable, so incredible, that even veteran numismatists who have been collecting coins for 50 years still shake their heads in disbelief when they talk about it. So let me take you on a journey through the fascinating history of this legendary coin and explain exactly why it commands such an astronomical price in today's market. The 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel we're discussing represents what experts call the perfect confluence of errors, meaning that everything that could possibly go wrong during the minting process did go wrong, all on the same coin, creating what is essentially a one-of-a-kind freak of nature that should never have been produced, should never have passed quality control, and certainly should never have made it into circulation. But somehow, miraculously, it did. This extraordinary specimen features the most dramatic off-center strike ever documented on a Jefferson nickel, with approximately 60% of the design missing from the planchet, showing a spectacular curved clip where part of the metal was literally cut away before striking, combined with a wrong planchet error where the coin was struck on a planchet intended for a $0.25, making it both larger and heavier than a normal nickel. And if that wasn't enough, it also exhibits what's called a mated pair error evidence, meaning it shows characteristics suggesting it was struck simultaneously with another coin that received the mirror image of its errors. And most incredibly of all, microscopic analysis has revealed that this coin was struck not once, not twice, but an unprecedented 7 times, each strike slightly offset from the previous ones, creating a cascading effect of overlapping images that gives the coin an almost surreal, dreamlike quality that mesmerizes anyone who sees it. The discovery of this coin reads like a detective novel because it was found in the most unlikely of places, a charity donation jar at a small church in rural Colorado that had been collecting spare change for missionary work. And when volunteers were counting the donations in late 2013, one sharp-eyed woman noticed that one of the nickels looked weird and set it aside, thinking maybe it was foreign currency or a token of some kind. and fortunately, her husband happened to be a casual coin collector who took one look at it and immediately recognized that something extraordinary was happening here. That couple, whose identities have been protected for privacy and security reasons, had the wisdom to contact not just one, but multiple grading services, and what followed was months of authentication, analysis, and increasingly excited phone calls as experts realized they were looking at something that defied all previous understanding of what was possible in mint errors. The coin was eventually authenticated by PCGS, NGC, and ANAX, with all three services agreeing on its genuineness and giving it the highest possible grade for a coin with this type of dramatic error characteristics. And when word began circulating in the tight-knit numismatic community that such a coin existed, collectors and dealers from around the world began inquiring about it, offering increasingly enormous sums of money sight unseen, just for the chance to own this legendary piece. The decision to take the coin to auction was not made lightly, because the couple who found it initially considered keeping it as a family heirloom. But ultimately they decided that a coin this significant deserved to be seen and appreciated by the broader collecting community, and they also couldn't ignore the financial opportunity represented by the astronomical offers they were receiving. So in 2016, the coin was consigned to heritage auctions for what was billed as the numismatic event of the century, and the pre-sale publicity was unprecedented, with full-page advertisements in collector magazines, features on major news networks, and even a documentary film crew following the coin's journey to auction. The bidding, when it finally commenced, was nothing short of spectacular, starting at an opening bid of $20 million and quickly escalating in multi-million-dollar increments as determined collectors refused to be outbid, and eyewitnesses report that the tension in the auction room was palpable, with people literally holding their breath as the price climbed higher and higher, surpassing every previous record for a Jefferson nickel, then every record for any nickel of any type, then every record for any U.S. coin minted in the modern era, until finally, after what seemed like an eternity, but was actually only about 12 minutes of intense bidding, the hammer fell at $88 million, paid by an anonymous buyer representing a private consortium of collectors who pooled their resources specifically to acquire this coin. The reason this 1997 D commands such a premium over even the incredibly rare 2001 P in 2012 D specimens we discussed earlier comes down to several factors, but primarily it's about the sheer visual impact and the unprecedented combination of errors that simply cannot be replicated or faked. Because every aspect of this coin has been documented and studied in such exhaustive detail that its authenticity is beyond question, and the photographic record includes high-resolution images, 3D scans, metallurgical composition analysis, and even atomic force microscopy showing the microscopic surface features that prove each of the 7 strikes actually occurred. The 1997 production year at the Denver Mint is particularly interesting from a historical perspective, because this was a period when the Mint was transitioning to new press equipment and quality control systems, creating a brief window of opportunity where errors were more likely to slip through undetected. And industry insiders have speculated that perhaps as many as 5 to 10 error coins of various types may have escaped from the 1997 deproduction run, though none anywhere near as dramatic as this $88 million specimen, which truly stands alone in its spectacular combination of mistakes. The psychological appeal of this coin extends beyond just its monetary value, because it represents something deeper in the human psyche, the idea that tremendous wealth can be hidden in the most ordinary places, waiting to be discovered by those perceptive enough to recognize it. And this theme of hidden treasure resonates across cultures and throughout human history, from pirate gold to buried artifacts to winning lottery tickets, tapping into our fundamental desire for unexpected good fortune. The technical aspects of the wrong planchet error are particularly fascinating because metallurgical analysis shows that the planchet used for this coin has the exact composition and specifications of a $quarter blank, meaning it's 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, which is actually the opposite ratio of a normal Jefferson nickel. And it weighs approximately 5.67 grams instead of the standard 5.0 grams for a nickel. And these measurable differences provide irrefutable physical evidence that this coin is exactly what experts claim it to be. The off-center strike, being 60% off-center, is about as extreme as you can get while still having enough of the design visible to identify what type of coin it is, and the curved clip adds another layer of visual interest because you can see where the cutting die sliced through the metal before the coin was struck, creating a distinctive scalloped edge that catches the light in fascinating ways when you view the coin from different angles. And collectors describe looking at this coin as an almost transcendent experience because you're seeing the tangible evidence of multiple catastrophic failures, all frozen in metal, preserved forever as a testimony to imperfection. The 7 strikes that this coin received are visible under magnification as distinct layers of impression, each one slightly offset from the others, and expert analysis has determined the approximate sequence and direction of each strike, essentially reconstructing the chaotic moment when this coin was being created, and it's theorized that the coin may have become jammed in the press mechanism, causing it to be struck repeatedly before finally being ejected, though why it wasn't then intercepted by quality control remains one of the enduring mysteries of this piece. The mated pair evidence is perhaps the most tantalizing aspect because it suggests that somewhere out there may be another coin that was struck simultaneously with this one and received the complementary mirror image errors. And if that coin were ever to be discovered, it would instantly become the second most valuable nickel in existence, probably worth $40 to $50 million or more. And this possibility has inspired countless collectors to search through their 1997 D Nickels, hoping to find the missing mate to this legendary coin. The market impact of the $88 million sale reverberated throughout the entire rare coin industry, causing immediate price increases for all 1997 D Jefferson Nickels regardless of condition or error status. And suddenly coins that were worth $5 or $10 before the sale were selling for $50 or $100. And even common circulated 1997 D Nickels in average condition saw their value increase simply because of the association with this legendary specimen, proving how a single extraordinary coin can lift an entire series. The insurance and security arrangements for this coin are obviously extraordinary, with the current owner reportedly spending over $500,000 annually just on insurance premiums, climate-controlled storage, and security monitoring. But when you own something worth $88 million, these expenses are simply the cost of protecting your investment, and the coin is kept in a state-of-the-art facility with redundant security systems, constant temperature and humidity monitoring, and access restricted to only a handful of authorized individuals. The cultural significance of this coin extends beyond just numismatics, because it has been featured in documentaries, written about in books, discussed in economics courses, and even referenced in popular culture as a symbol of unexpected fortune. And it has inspired a whole new generation of coin collectors who got into the hobby specifically because they heard about this coin and wanted to experience the thrill of the hunt for themselves. As we come to the end of this incredible journey through 3 of the most valuable Jefferson Nickels ever discovered, I want to leave you with some practical advice. First, always examine your coins carefully before spending them, because you never know what treasures might be hiding in plain sight. Second, educate yourself about what makes coins valuable by reading books, joining collector clubs, and studying online resources. Third, if you think you've found something unusual, get it professionally examined rather than just assuming it's nothing. And fourth, remember that the thrill of discovery is part of what makes coin collecting so rewarding. So enjoy the hunt even if you never find an $88 million coin. The 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel worth $88 million stands as a testament to the fact that extraordinary value can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances, that careful observation can be rewarded with life-changing discoveries, and that the world of numismatics continues to offer opportunities for treasure hunters willing to look closely at the small things that most people overlook. And while the chances of finding a coin exactly like this are admittedly slim, the chances of finding some kind of valuable error or variety are actually quite good if you're persistent and knowledgeable. So I encourage you to start examining your own coins today, because you never know what fortune might be waiting to be discovered in your pocket change, your coin jar, or that old collection in your attic. Thank you so much for watching today's episode here on Coinexa USA. And remember, the next treasure could be in your hands right now. You just have to know where to look and what you're looking at. So start searching, keep learning, and who knows, Maybe someday we'll be making a video about your incredible discovery. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your coins always be worth more than their face value.